What happens when a former president posts a video about his successor that sends shockwaves through Washington? In the last 48 hours, Donald Trump released footage involving Barack Obama that has ignited a firestorm of controversy, divided social media, and put the current administration in damage control mode. Political allies are defending it, critics are calling it unprecedented, and millions of Americans are asking the same question. Has Trump crossed a line? Or is this just politics as usual in 2025? Stay with me, because what I'm about to show you reveals not just what happened, but why this moment could reshape the political landscape heading into the next election cycle. Let's start with the facts. On Tuesday evening, Donald Trump shared a video on Truth Social and subsequently on X, formerly Twitter, that quickly went viral. The video, which has now been viewed over 50 million times, features edited clips of Barack Obama from various speeches and interviews, interspersed with news footage and commentary that Trump claims exposes what he calls the real story about his predecessor, his policies and their impact on America. The video runs approximately 4 minutes and focuses heavily on foreign policy decisions, economic data, and what Trump describes as a pattern of misleading the American public. Within the montage are clips suggesting contradictions in Obama's public statements about healthcare, immigration, and international relations during his presidency. But here's where it gets controversial. The editing style, the dramatic music, and the juxtaposition of clips have led critics to claim the video is manipulative, takes statements out of context, and represents a form of political disinformation. Meanwhile, Trump's supporters argue it's simply highlighting facts that mainstream media refused to cover during the Obama years. The American people deserve to know the truth about what really happened. They deserve to know who is really looking out for them. Within hours, the video had been shared by prominent conservative figures, triggered trending hashtags on both sides of the political divide, and forced the White House press secretary to address it. In an emergency briefing, the response was immediate and intense. Let's break down how different political factions reacted. Democratic leaders came out swinging. House Minority Leader issued a statement calling the video a dangerous distortion of reality and an attack on a respected former president. Several Democratic senators took to social media calling for fact-checkers to debunk what they termed manipulated propaganda. Barack Obama himself has not directly responded, maintaining his typical stance of staying above the fray when it comes to Trump's attacks. However, sources close to the former president told reporters he finds the video disappointing, but not surprising, and has no plans to dignify it with a response. Former Obama administration officials weren't as restrained. Obama's former national security advisor penned a lengthy thread on X, dismantling several claims made in the video, while his former press secretary appeared on multiple cable news shows calling it revisionist history at its worst. The Republican divide. Here's where it gets interesting. The Republican response hasn't been unified. Trump's core supporters and MAGA Republicans have enthusiastically shared the video, with some calling it truth-telling and praising Trump for not being afraid to call out the establishment. However, some establishment Republicans have been noticeably silent, and a few have even gently distanced themselves from the video. One Republican senator, speaking anonymously, told reporters, "This isn't the fight we need to be having, right? Now we should be focused on policy, not personal vendettas." This division reveals ongoing tensions within the Republican Party about Trump's continued influence and whether his confrontational style helps or hurts the party's broader electoral prospects. The current White House, perhaps most awkwardly positioned, is the current administration. The White House was forced to comment on a video about a former Democratic president made by a current Republican presidential candidate. Press secretary addressed it carefully, saying the administration's focus remains on governing and that we're not going to be distracted by political theatrics, while adding that President Obama's record speaks for itself. This measured response is clearly designed to avoid amplifying the controversy while still defending a prominent Democrat. But this story is about much more than one video. It reveals 3 critical dynamics shaping American politics right now. First, the weaponization of social media in modern politics. Trump has always been a master of using social media to control news cycles and energize his base. This video demonstrates that even out of office, he can create national conversations overnight. The fact that it bypassed traditional media gatekeepers and went directly to millions of Americans shows how the information ecosystem has fundamentally changed. Political strategists I've spoken with say this is a preview of campaign tactics we'll see intensify throughout 2025 and into 2026. The ability to create, edit, and distribute political content that reaches massive audiences within hours gives candidates unprecedented power to shape narratives. Second, the ongoing debate about political norms. There was a time when former presidents rarely criticized their successors by name and certainly didn't create attack videos about them. Trump has shattered that norm repeatedly. The question is whether this represents a permanent shift in American political culture or whether future leaders will return to more traditional standards of conduct. Historians have noted that while presidents have certainly clashed throughout American history, the personal nature and persistence of Trump's attacks on Obama are historically unusual. Some argue this coarsening of political discourse is damaging to democratic institutions, while others contend it's simply removing a veneer of false civility that never represented how politics actually worked behind the scenes. Third, the 2024 Echo and 2028 preview. Make no mistake, this video isn't really about Obama. It's about positioning. By attacking Obama's legacy, Trump is indirectly attacking the Biden-Harris administration that built on that legacy and potentially setting up contrast for future campaigns. He's reminding his base why they supported him in the first place and attempting to define the broader narrative about democratic governance. Political analysts suggest Trump is also testing messages and tactics, seeing what resonates with voters and what generates the kind of earned media coverage that's worth millions in advertising value. Several fact-checking organizations have now analyzed the video, and their conclusions are mixed but important to understand. Politics, Fact, and other organizations found that while many of the clips shown are real and unedited in themselves, the context and sequencing creates implications that they rate as misleading or lacking important context. For example, one clip shows Obama making a statement about healthcare costs, but doesn't include the preceding explanation about what time frame he was discussing or the economic conditions at the time. However, fact-checkers also noted that some points raised in the video reflect legitimate policy debates about the Obama administration's record, particularly on foreign policy decisions and economic outcomes. This creates a complicated situation where the video isn't straightforwardly true or false, but rather a selective presentation of information designed to support a particular political narrative. In other words, it's political messaging, which by nature emphasizes certain facts while downplaying others. Media literacy experts point out that this is precisely why these videos are so effective and so controversial. They contain enough factual elements to be defended by supporters while being framed in ways critics can legitimately call misleading. This ambiguity is actually part of the strategy. So why does this matter beyond the political spectacle? For voters, this represents the information environment you'll be navigating for the foreseeable future. Videos like this will become increasingly common, more sophisticated, and harder to evaluate. Developing critical media literacy skills, checking multiple sources, and understanding the difference between facts, context, and interpretation matters more than ever. For the political landscape, this incident highlights the continuing polarization of American politics and the breakdown of shared information sources. When Democrats and Republicans can watch the same video and come away with completely opposite interpretations of its validity and appropriateness, it reveals how fragmented our political discourse has become. For future campaigns, expect more of this. If this video successfully dominates news cycles and energizes Trump's base without major backlash, you can bet other candidates will adopt similar tactics. The 2026 midterms and beyond will likely see an explosion of rapid response video content designed for social media virality. Trump's Obama video has done exactly what it was designed to do: create controversy, dominate media coverage, energize supporters, and force political opponents into defensive positions. Whether you view it as truth-telling or manipulation likely depends on where you already stood politically, which itself tells us something important about where we are as a country. The backlash has been significant, with Democrats condemning it and even some Republicans uncomfortable with the approach. But Trump has never been deterred by criticism from political elites, and his base has consistently rewarded him for exactly. And this kind of confrontational politics, as we move forward, the real question isn't just about this one video, it's about what kind of political discourse we want, what standards we expect from our leaders, and how we as citizens navigate an information environment where the lines between fact, opinion, and propaganda are increasingly blurred. One thing is certain, this won't be the last video, the last controversy, or the last time we're forced to grapple with these questions. The 2025 political landscape is shaping up to be just as turbulent as any we've seen. What do you think? Is this legitimate political messaging or a step too far? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to stay informed about political developments with analysis that cuts through the noise, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell.